can see it. Cat's talented as all get out. But what's the separating factor? When talent meets talent, talent is no longer enough. When talent meets talent, talent is no longer enough.
You know, what do you do when talent meets talent? A lot of times what I feel is that a lot of times in today's world, today's society in 2024, is that we have a lot of people that are afraid of competition. That's why they don't feel good when talent does meet talent, or they don't excel. My name is Justin Miller. I'm the owner of Legends of Athletics. Been in the sports performance industry over the last 10 years. Had the opportunity to work with countless athletes, and so I know a thing or two, not just about sports performance, speed, agility, mental coaching, things like that, but I know a thing or two about life as well because I've had the opportunity to live it. If you like what we're doing over here, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button right now. Tell somebody. And as always, be legendary. Let's jump right in. So before we jump into it, I'm going to surmise this story, but I want to come back and continue talking to you guys about when talent meets talent and what we want to strive to do and be for ourselves. And so this is what we're going to start talking about. So I want to talk about the parable of talents. First of all, this is in Matthew 25, 14 through 30, if you want to go back and read that yourself. But it's the story of a wealthy master that goes on a journey and entrusts his servants with varying amounts of money called talents, each according to their ability. One servant receives 5 talents, one 2, and the last one 1. The servant with 5 talents invests in them and earns 5 more. The servant with 2 talents does the same and earns 2 more. However, the servant with 1 talent, fearing his master's strictness, hides his talent and in the ground and does nothing with it. When the master returns, he praises the 2 servants who doubled their talents and rewards them with greater responsibility. But the master rebukes the servant who hid his talent, calling him lazy and unproductive. He takes the 1 talent away from him and he gives it to the servant with 10 talents. This parable emphasizes the importance of using one's gift and opportunities responsibly. It highlights themes of accountability, stewardship, and the idea that those who are faithful with little will be entrusted with more. This is where you get the saying that people often say many times, and it really just slipped my mind. I'm getting a little rusty. I'm getting older, but I'm still young. To whom much is given, much is required. Be faithful of a little, and you get blessed with many, or get blessed with more. And so, I'm a believer of Jesus Christ. I am. If you're not, I hope that you go about your own journey and learn, about Jesus and learn about God. But, for this, I want to stick to talent. Many times when we see athletes go from one level to the next level to the next level, what you see is every level requires a new level of humbleness. But humbleness is not in a sense of being meek and being like a rug, a humbleness to learn, a humbleness to grow, and a humbleness to redefine yourself in a new position. I think about it like this. I just had this conversation with an athlete about 2 weeks ago. I told him this. I said, you get recruited based on how well you play the game. And when you get to the level of college level, you get playing time based on how well you know the game. So if you don't know the game, then you can't expect to play. But at the high school level, if you know how to play, then you are going to subsequently play. Most of the time when you look around at most high schools, you look around at most middle schools, Pee Wee division, things of that nature, and you look at these athletes, you can clearly see the difference between level 1 and level 2, and you can see the difference between a starter, a non-starter, somebody who can go and play at the next level, somebody who cannot play at the next level. Once you get to the collegiate level, collegiate ranks, no matter what the division is, that window or that gap begins to decrease and shrink. When you get to the pro level, it shrinks even more. And so what we have to do is know how to position ourselves in order to be the best us that we can be, because that's the best thing that you can do, and that's the best thing that you can strive for. And so so when we're going towards the things that we have set before ourselves, we have to be very careful on how we go about them. It's very easy to get discouraged and say, well, I can't do this, or that's my limitation, I can't do that. But the smartest people in the room are going to work on the things they know they need to work on, the weaknesses and the weak points of their game, bring those things up to where they're closer and decreasing the gap between the strong and weak points in their game so that they can play more of the game. In the world of sports, speed is the ultimate weapon. Can you harness it? Athletes in need of speed and agility training, Legends of Athletics has the perfect program for you. If you struggle accelerating, are unsure how to train for results in and out of season, cannot change directions or jump, hit the message button and set up a call and assessment today. With our system, we offer weekly check-ins, schedule face-to-face calls, mental training, speed-based programming, year-round, in and out of season. I'm Justin Miller, owner of Legends of Athletics. Over the last 10 years in the sports performance industry, I have trained over 250 athletes. 30% of the Legends of Athletics athletes have obtained scholarships at the collegiate level for sport. In the world of sports, speed is the ultimate weapon. Harness your speed with Legends of Athletics through online training, custom online training, or face-to-face training. Be legendary. I think about this, and I want to give you guys a quick story time about myself and my journey to being where I am as far as today in Legends of Athletics and what caused me to be an even better trainer. And it happened through osmosis, to be honest. We were having this conversation, or I had a conversation with some coaches last week, and we were talking about how just being around certain talent, certain groups of people, how that just being around or in certain groups automatically causes you to raise your game, causes you to be better, and it causes you to bring the best out in yourself. I'm not one that looks at talent, I'm not one that looks at competition in a negative light. I look at it as in a positive light, because competition brings out the best in us all. And when you're in a room full of talented people, you have to be a competitor, and you have to want to bring out the best in yourself. Does that mean that you win at the end? It does not. But does that mean that you see something new in yourself that you didn't see before? It absolutely does. And so when you are around other talented people, it shines a light on who you really are not, and what you need to become. I think about December 2023, I had the opportunity and to not only meet, but to develop a relationship with Coach Beckham, director of sports performance. I want to say Coach Beckham. If I jacked the title, please forgive me. But director of sports performance at Mississippi State University. And when I met Coach Beckham, before I walked into that meeting, and really it was a podcast, so I was doing an interview. Before I walked into that interview with him, I had one perception of myself. I had one perception really of a lot of trainers where I felt like, yeah, I'm better. Yeah, I'm one of the best, but the results weren't showing, and it was pseudo. I'm not saying it didn't have any solid points, but it was more pseudo for me. And so when I walked into that interview with him, it was a great interview, rich with all kinds of gems and gemstones, things like that. So if you have not got a chance to listen to that, that's episode I want to say 90 something. I can't remember exactly, but anyway, it's in the catalog of the Legends of Athletics podcast. If you want to listen to that if you watch this on YouTube, it's on YouTube. But if you want to listen to it on Apple Podcasts, it's on there as well, or Spotify, or whatever you listen to it on. So when I walked into that, I had one feeling in myself, this, that, and the third. But as I began to hear him talk and began to hear him explain and go over the nuances of performance training, how to go about it, different techniques and tactics and things like that, I was able to sit back and say, man, this guy's on it. Like that's a whole nother level. Now, mind you, Coach Beckham's older than me, so I mean, sometimes naturally, I'll say most of the time naturally, the person that's older, you're gonna have more experience. They're gonna have more things to just give you. And so that's why I always like to sit at the feet of those who have come before me, because you can get all kind of gems. You can get all kind of like just knowledge that you didn't know before, and things that sometimes, I'm gonna be real, we get so caught up in the new that we forget the old and the things that have worked before. But anyway, going into that, he just it was an hour-long podcast, and he gave so much stuff. I think we were there because one of my friends rode with me. We were there for about 2 hours in Starkville. And so it's crazy. Like, when I came out of that, we talked a little bit about sports performance. He asked me some questions, things like that, and like he challenged me. He challenged me. It was one of those where I was answering questions, but when I tell y'all, like, if I was gonna say, like me being real, I wasn't gonna tell him this then, but me being real today, when he asked me questions, it really made me think. That was like one of the few times I had to really think. And one of the challenges that he gave me was not only to study more about sports performance training, but to get lost in the art of it, to jump in a rabbit hole, as he says, and just get lost in it. And that's where, if you want to be a top talent, you got to be obsessed. And that's one of the things that we talk about when talent meets talent. Talent only gets you so far. Talent will get you to the door, sometimes in the door. But if you don't do the things around your talent to cultivate it, to help it grow, working on the details, working on your mental game, working on your delivery, working on your execution, working on those KPIs, those key performance indicators to make you great, well, you will never see success. You will never see how good you can be. When I came out of that meeting, out of that podcast interview with Coach Beckham, there's two ways I could have took that. I could have took it as just a chance experience and say, well, it is what it is. Great time. Moving on from there. Or I could take that as, man, like, okay, I know where I got to go. I got to really get in another mode in order to be on this level that I perceive that I want to be. Is it humbling? Very. But is it necessary? Yes, very. I'm saying all that to say this, guys, girls, everyone watching, is that don't get so lost in your own sauce and so lost in the hype that you forget the journey. You forget the travel. You forget your passport. You forget your license, things like that. You have to drive to get to where you want to go. You can either live this life and survive, or you can thrive. And I would be remiss to tell you that you can do anything without putting in work. You can do anything without showing yourself trustworthy and honorable. I would be remiss to say that. That's a conundrum, for real. That's the antithesis of everything I just said. That is quite it, literally it. But what I want to tell you is to believe in yourself, believe in your craft, whatever it is that you do, and put the work in. Don't be afraid of competition. I see so many kids, I don't know, like, people talk about, oh my God, kids today are so different. And I had an opportunity to work with many countless high schoolers and middle schoolers and things like that, but they're different, but they're not. We have to create an environment where competition is not looked at negatively. We have to create environments as adults where competition is looked at as what it is, competition. You're going to win some, you're going to lose some. But as long as you did your best, that's what really counts. It's not about showing up and saying, well, you showed up, I'm going to give you this participation trophy. No, it's about like, okay, right now he viral, but I got to use this. When you lay your head on that pillow at night, did you give it everything that you had? And that's really what it is. I mean, that's something that everybody has to learn in life at some point. Anybody that wants to be grossly successful, you really have to learn that. And, extreme success, there is no balance, honestly. Trust me. I mean, there ain't no balance there. But to be successful, if it's in your own right, you can have everything that you want. If you want a life of balance, go get it. If you want a life that's full of things or whatever motivates you, you can have it. Whatever you want, you can have it. But you got to work for it in order to get it. I don't care what your last name is. I don't care what your ilk is. I don't care where you from, how you do it, who do it, what do it. I mean, you just got to have it. I mean, and that's just the crux of the matter. So when talent meets talent, the great separator is the details. The great separator is the execution. The great separator is the sacrifice. And if you're not willing to do those things, success is not for you. A lot of times with kids, one thing that you'll see, especially when they're 16 to 21 years old, 17 to 21 years old, they want to do everything everybody else wants to do. And I've been there. I mean, that's okay. But do you want to look back and say, well, I could have done more? I could have, if I would have went to one less party, I probably could have been here. If I would have studied this playbook just a little bit longer, I could have been there. If I would have ran a few more sprints, I could have been here. If I would have invested in myself in the offseason, I could have been there. Or do you just feel like it's okay to be where you are? Average is easy. I mean, Coach Saban says this all the time. Everybody can get a C in a class, and that's good enough for them. But in order to strive to be great, to get a B, to get an A, you have to have something else that drives you. You have to be a little bit obsessed. You have to be just a little bit more driven. You have to be have a little bit more want to. And if you have those things, then great things are going to come about. I hope that this episode was great. This one is kind of off the cuff. I mean, it was just one that was on my heart. I've been sitting on it for like a month. So I hope that you guys enjoyed it. If you like it, hey, we're trying to get to 300 subscribers right now. We're at like 283 on YouTube, barring nobody left us yet. But we're at 283, so we're trying to get to 300. If you like the content, like, subscribe, hit that bell, share it with somebody, tell somebody, and as always, be legendary.